The actress said to the bishop, "That's no carrot."
Well, this is wonderful, Joe. Fine food, fine wine, and fine friends.
Sure is, Chris. Thanks for putting it on for everyone.
No problem. But as we always say on How to Survive, dinner parties can be bloody murder. So think about that before you accept the invitation.
This thing is so official.
Maybe they're overcompensating. It's kind of hard to call everybody up out of the blue after 2 years.
I'm so glad you're here. We've got a lot to talk about. So much to celebrate tonight. Each and every one of us is on a journey, and we feel that it's important to be on that journey with the people you love.
Bars on the windows and no?
Security. Safer.
You've been acting so suspicious of our hospitality.
Something doesn't feel safe here.
We don't see you for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, we get invited to this lavish dinner. Don't tell me that this is normal.
Hello and welcome to episode 82 of the How to Survive podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me round the dinner table, quite literally in this case, is Joe.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very well, excited to talk about a film that I think is very good.
Well, you mean you didn't enjoy Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday?
It was not one of my favourites that we've covered. I would say that The Invitation probably was, top 20, let's say.
Yeah.
Top percentile, I'd say.
Yeah.
Or top percentage bracket, I would say.
Yeah.
So this week we are covering The Invitation, the 2015 Karin Kusama movie. It is available to stream on Netflix in the UK, and it is well worth your time. So seek it out if you haven't seen it yet, because there are plenty of twists and turns for us to spoil in the course of our discussion.
Don't worry, we will spoil it.
Yes, we will ensure and strive to spoil it. Ruin it, in fact. So, yes, this is your final warning before we recap the plot ahead of chatting a bit later about how we would survive The Invitation. Will drives with his new girlfriend Kira to the Hollywood Hills home of his ex-wife Eden, who is hosting a dinner party with her new partner David. Will and Eden divorced while trying to cope with their young son Ty's accidental death. Eden met David at a grief support group, and their party will be the first time any of their friends have seen the couple in over 2 years. Will and Kira arrive. David and Eden's other dinner guests are Tommy's boyfriend Miguel, and friends Ben, Claire and Gina. Gina mentions that their other friend Choi is running late, which he always does apparently.
Yeah.
Typical Choi.
She told him not to, no?
Yeah. Eden introduces Sadie, a girl she and David met while in Mexico, who now stays with them. Later, David and Eden's mysterious friend Pruitt arrives, and Will notes that David locks the front door behind him. Over the course of the evening, Will grows increasingly suspicious about the motives of David and Eden, encouraged by their newfound membership of The Invitation, a spiritual philosophy group interested in death. The guests are shown a video where the group's leader comforts a woman dying of terminal cancer. During a parlour game, Pruitt confesses to having accidentally killed his wife many years ago. One guest, Claire, is unsettled to the point that she leaves the party, accompanied out of sight by Pruitt. Will notes more unusual behaviour throughout the evening and grows increasingly anxious, despite the reassurances of his fellow guests. Stepping outside, Will receives a voicemail from Choi, left earlier in the evening, saying he is outside the house, early for once, and about to head inside. An agitated Will confronts David and Eden in front of the other guests, demanding to know what they've done with Choi before Choi himself walks in. He was called away by work.
Walks into the building, not into the room. He wasn't hiding in another room.
Yeah, exactly. Will apologises and goes to his son's old bedroom, now David's office, to reflect. On David's laptop, he finds information about The Invitation and their true motives. Outside, David lights a red lantern in the garden. David pours drinks for the guests, but Will smashes the glasses, fearing they're poisoned. Sadie attacks Will, who inadvertently knocks her unconscious in the scuffle. Gina suddenly collapses and dies, revealing that Will was right about the drinks. She was one of the people who had a sip of the drink before Will.
Only one.
The only one, yeah. David, Eden and Pruitt attack the guests, killing Miguel, Choi and Ben. Will, Kira and Tommy flee and hide in the house. Will overhears David telling Eden that what they're doing is the only way they can leave the earth and be freed from their pain. Will retrieves a fireplace poker from Sadie while she lies dying. Pruitt finds and attacks Will and Kira. The couple overpower him and Kira beats him to death. Eden shoots Will and then herself. David attacks Tommy, but Tommy stabs David to death. The surviving Will, Kira and Tommy head outside, seeing helicopters flying overhead. As the group watch, Will sees various homes with the same red lantern that David lit earlier in the evening. Will realises that Los Angeles is erupting in chaos as the other cult members throughout the city carry out plans similar to David and Eden's. And that's how The Invitation concludes.
Jolly ending.
Yeah, it's really like a horrible, bleak ending, isn't it?
Yes.
Of them sort of looking over this Los Angeles landscape with just gunshots and screams and stuff.
Yeah. Dogs barking.
Yeah, it's pretty grim.
Yeah.
But a very interesting film, I thought.
It was pretty masterfully done in terms of ramping up the tension throughout.
Yeah, I think so. A budget of only $1 million.
No, only.
Yeah,
That is low for a film.
Yes, a small loan of $1 million. And the film is, as you say, a sort of masterpiece in building tension through the use of things like red herrings, paranoia,
social awkwardness.
Yes, exactly. And I think that the film shows quite a lot of things that within certain contexts would be fine, or like if they were played off in a certain way, they'd be fine. But there's just something wrong the whole time, but you're never sure whether there is definitely something wrong, or Will, who clearly has some sort of issues, is just suspicious and then therefore sort of seeing it through a lens of suspicion, and like everything he's seeing is just backing up his suspicions.
Yeah. And there's several points where it's like, oh, right, he's wrong. They are just normal people.
Yes.
And then, oh, wait, no, he's definitely not wrong.
Yeah, and it works as well because Will becomes more and more unhinged. So you start thinking maybe he's going to be like the horror part.
Because the pressure seems to be building inside of him, because it's the first time he's been back to the house in many years where his son died and where he lived with his wife and son.
Yes.
And it's very stressful, as you'd expect.
Yes, and he especially seems to be having a hard time with his ex-wife's the manner in which she's dealing with the death,
grief,
and the grief. But I think it works so well because we're all sort of inclined to be suspicious of the world, but social decorum stops us from just like acting on those feelings constantly.
Yeah.
But I made a note of basically all of the sort of cues for him to feel uncomfortable throughout the film. If you'd like to,
I'd love to.
There's quite a few of them as well. So for starters, the fact that David and Eden have so abruptly invited everyone after not seeing any of them for 2 years
on like a really well printed like invitation as well.
Yes. Second point, just Sadie being there.
Yeah.
And the first time we see Sadie, she's naked from the waist down.
Yeah.
Just stood at the end of a corridor, which, if there was ever a way to make a character seem like
not
mad,
quite right.
or like not, exactly. Since he's last been at the house, they've added bars onto all of the windows for safety, apparently.
Yeah.
David locks the front door behind the guests. Eden is seen taking pills. The pills are sort of barbiturates of some kind.
Turned out to be a bit of a red herring.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. But Eden slaps Ben when he jokes about her sort of new agey beliefs on dealing with grief and emotions and things, which is very abrupt and sort of like comes out of nowhere. Then, of course, you got the sinister video. and which is very weird. Like, you know, the sort of like YouTubey documentary.
Yeah.
And it's all very like
Badly shot and
yeah, but then it's like it's all sort of very smiley and like spiritual, but it's just some people standing around while this woman dies of cancer, and it's pretty horrible. And then that's followed up by Pruitt's confession of
murder.
Yeah, of murder. You know, like, or is it murder? Is it manslaughter? You know, like he is basically at the time he's the way he tells it is obviously unintentional.
Yeah.
But then looking back through the film afterwards, maybe it's, you know, something a bit more sinister than that. Then, of course, Eden kisses Ben passionately during the same sort of I want parlour game that they play.
Weird.
Which is very weird. Just after the parlour game, there's some unseen visitors that David leaves the house to talk to.
Yeah, that's right.
And then
he says there's some kids who want to have a party.
Yeah, there's some kids looking for another party down the road. And it's just, you know, he never explains it fully, basically. David and Pruitt try and stop Claire from leaving quite sort of forcefully. And then when she does insist on leaving, Pruitt follows her until she's out of sight of the house. And then he's like, oh, Claire, wait. I just need to talk to you about something.
Yeah.
So, like, do you think Pruitt killed Claire?
I think that's implied, yeah.
Yeah. Sadie making strange faces to herself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And then the creepy poolside conversation that they have afterwards.
I thought maybe that was a dream. Because it's just like...
Comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's stood on the balcony, then it cuts to that, and then it cuts back to him on the balcony.
No, it's like... Because he's in the bathroom and then goes out to stand by the pool, and then she comes and speaks to him. But that's very...
unusual.
Yeah. Then you've got the laptop with the cult leader... message saying, you know, it's going to be difficult, but you'll achieve transcendence or whatever, but not being specific. And then, of course, the sort of lantern that David lights. And then after that, it's sort of just as Will is like has just tipped over the edge of rationality as we see him, basically. Just after that, all of his worst fears are like confirmed 100%, which is fantastic.
He's like slowly like confronting things. Like, why did you lock the door? Like, why are you doing this? Why is the bars in the window? Why? And then you realise like everything he's confronting about is
totally legitimate. Yeah. But like the sort of you know, like friends can slap one another in anger. But if one of them is sort of mocking the other one, especially if it's about something as sensitive as the way they're dealing with their child's death, right? That's, you know, in some contexts that could be fine.
And the tension on that is diffused quite quickly because she's like, look, there's nothing but love.
Exactly. Like, and again, like locking the front door. People lock their front door. You know, they're afraid of crime.
Yeah.
There could have been like burglars or whatever up and down the street. You know, even the things like the video, like there's nothing in the video that says, oh, like, you know, killing all your friends will help you achieve transcendence. It's just sort of very vague, you know, all that sort of thing. And yet you're seeing it all through these prisms. And it's a bit like a film that we discussed a few weeks ago, Split.
Yes.
In that it's like... it simultaneously has loads of plot twists and no plot twists. Yeah. Because everything that the film is telling you is just like, that is what's happening.
Yeah. Everything you're sort of drawing from this is true.
Yes. Yeah. And I think what I think is interesting about Will's character is that, as you say, he sort of is confronting each of these things as the film goes along in a more and more sort of unhinged manner. And this sort of brings us on to dinner scenes and why we love them.
Well, this movie reminded me a lot of Coherence. Which we covered way back, probably episode 40 or something.
Yeah.
Which was a similar dinner scene with like old friends. Mm-hmm. And that ramps up the tension in a different way, I'd say.
Yes.
Because Coherence is a movie where you can't discuss it without spoiling it.
Yes.
So we'll just leave it at that and encourage anyone who hasn't seen it to go and check it out.
Yeah, it's a very good film.
Yeah, but it's like that meets Green Room.
Yes.
In that it goes from like a bit weird to like ultra violent in about 1 second.
Yes. Yeah. And it's sort of... Yeah, it's got that same thing as Coherence of like, the sort of social awkwardness that everyone has, and that slowly gets chipped away as people get more and more sort of
anxious.
And like I think tension in films, like we obviously love tension. We talk about it all the time, how much we love sort of slow burn horror movies and things. And I think tension in films works the same if it's like social tension or if it's like the threat of a monster. It seems to work exactly the same way.
I've said before, one of the worst scenes in terms of like anxiety inducing for me was a scene in Rachel Getting Married. Which is just a movie about like a young girl whose sister's getting married, but she like stands up and gives an awkward speech, and that is like true horror.
Traumatizing. I like the scene in this film where I think it basically sort of starts from when he starts smashing the glasses out of people's hands, and finishes sort of when people are dead. Basically, like within that sort of 2 or 3 minute portion of the film, you go from, oh my God, he's like fully lost it now. He's like violently attacking people. And then Sadie attacks him and he like knocks her out accidentally. And you're like, oh my God, he's murdered someone. That's what the twist is. It's like he's mad, but like he's accidentally killed someone. And then Gina drops dead from poisoning.
The camera just like pans around. And she just like...
Well, it's like someone says, oh, she's not breathing. And the doctor guy who's looking at Sadie, it's like, she is breathing. And she's like, no, Gina's not breathing. And you like swing around and she's got like foam coming out of her mouth. And you're like, fucking hell, it is poison. And then David sort of, who a second ago you see sort of like slinking off, just returns and shoots one of them. You're like, this is like too much now. This is too many twists in the space of like a couple of minutes of runtime.
It is quite intense.
And I think, like there's whole social constructs that exist around things like dinner parties and like people threatening to break them naturally breeds that sort of tension.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's why it makes it so good in a horror movie. And it seems to be all the best horror movies have a good dinner scene. Because it's
a lot of the ones that we've
had. Like Misery. It's like, it's a setting like a man and a woman having dinner. Which you know is cliched. It's not even cliched. It's just like, it's so natural.
It's normal. The most normal thing in the world.
But it's like ramped up because it's so unusual. Because it's so unnatural. And The Loved Ones is another favourite of ours. But this is the first movie where the food has actually been a threat, I think.
Interesting, because obviously there's Kill List as well. Which is a favourite of ours, which is just social awkwardness, like social tension. You've got Coherence, as you mentioned earlier. This is a real pantheon of dinner scenes. It's right. That pantheon's right next to the pantheon of shit policemen.
We could do a whole podcast just on good dinner scenes in movies.
So I think this is a great paranoid thriller, and I jotted down a few paranoid thrillers that I've enjoyed.
Cool.
That similarly sort of gaslight you, basically.
Coherence, I'd say, is top of that list.
Oh, well, it wasn't actually on my list, but it's a fair point.
Well, the list's worth nothing then. I'll stop you there.
Well, I'll kick you off with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which, aside from the title sort of giving it away, they don't really show up until about 40 minutes in, 50 minutes in. That's quite well done, I thought. Shutter Island. That is a film that really drives you down one alley and then just goes, no.
You were wrong.
The Game.
I think we're due to cover that soon, aren't we?
We may have to, The Wicker Man.
That's
perhaps the ultimate like sort of gaslighting film. Arlington Road, which is, I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I don't know that.
It's Jeff Bridges and Tim Robbins. And Jeff Bridges suspects that his neighbour...
we've talked about this on the podcast.
He suspects his neighbour is a terrorist. I won't go into what happens, but that is also an excellent...
I don't know,
I think we talked about it off air, because I wouldn't have wanted to...
spoil it.
But all good examples of the subgenre.
How about any we've covered on the podcast?
Would you count The Thing among sort of paranoid thrillers?
Yeah, yes and no.
Because that is sort of, hidden identity.
No, I think definitely, yeah, because there's like a who are you to it, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so like I think we've covered quite a few of them in the
Oeuvre.
Yeah, and all good fun.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of like a puzzle film, isn't it?
Exactly. So next week we've got another creepy paranoid thriller.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Yeah. The original.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're sexist and you won't watch the new one.
Yes, that's right.
Have you seen it?
No,
No, me.
because we're both sexist.
So, Chris, with all that said, I normally like to throw in a bit of IMDb trivia, but there was none.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite a $1 million budget.
Yeah.
It was originally supposed to cast Zachary Quinto, Luke Wilson,
And Topher Grace as well.
yeah, and Johnny Gillespie from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, which would have changed the outlook of it quite a bit because much like Coherence, there's sort of one actor that you recognise,
Yeah. And
and
a lot
the rest
that you
of them
kind of recognise.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
they're all a bit too good looking.
Yeah, that's true. Although it is the Hollywood Hills.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like How to Survive, Joe, have you got any tips for the party guests?
Yeah. Basically, just leave as soon as it starts getting like uncomfortable. Like if I came to dinner at your house, and it ended with me saying doing something awful, telling your girlfriend Kelly like fuck off, or
Yeah.
like get the fuck out of my face.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
you'd be like, it was awkward, and I'd say that I think tensions are high because I'm back in this building, which gives me lots of grief. You're flat.
Yeah, because your son died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to blame you for leaving. And his girlfriend's like, "Come on, let's go. No one's going to blame you."
Yeah.
And he goes, "No, I want to stay
Yeah.
and pretend that I'm having a good time.
Mm.
I want to put myself through it unnecessarily."
Yeah. I have to say, though, I did jot down essentially the same thing, which doesn't happen often, but I worry that that's a no-go.
Yeah.
Because we see someone doing that, Claire.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't look good for her, does it?
No, it doesn't look good at all. So I'm not convinced that she actually survives.
Last scene being escorted into like a dark alley by a known murderer.
Yes, exactly. A man who killed his wife and goes on to kill
Can't
several
wait
more.
to kill people.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, chomping at the bit.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point.
Yeah, so like I think that's sort of my first idea as well, is sort of leave. But then I had to think, and I've got a sort of maybe a better form of the same idea.
Okay.
My sort of version 2.0 of that idea is returning to a How to Survive staple, which is basically stick to your principles.
Okay.
Just tweaking it slightly. Just if you don't want to do something, don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's quite apparent that Will really doesn't want to go to the dinner party.
Yeah.
Right. And his girlfriend has never met any of these people. So she's got no sort of like connection to them. And she's not the one going, "Oh, but I haven't seen Tommy in ages," or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you really don't want to go back to the house where your son lived before he was dead, that features your ex-wife and her new partner.
boyfriend.
Yeah. Like, you can meet up with the other group members anytime.
Do you think there's some level of closure that he needs to get by going there?
I don't think he gets much closure from walking around the house, like looking at the sort of ghosts of his past.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like he's taking much away from that.
No,
I don't
it's
think.
not. It's not comforting for him at all.
No, it doesn't seem to be. No.
It does end in him like having to kill people.
Yeah. It's probably not top of the list of things that he was hoping to get out of the evening.
No.
But yeah, so basically my advice is that, like, we say about, you can't change character motivations. But the only thing that's sort of making him go, it seems, is sort of like social decorum.
Yeah.
But he spends the whole evening just breaking that anyway.
Yeah.
Like, he quite openly is like, "David, why are you locking the door?
Yeah.
Are you trying to murder us?
Are you planning to kill us all in some sort of cult ritual?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, why are you showing us a creepy video about that, David? Why have you got bars in all the windows, Eden? Like, it's like, and he, like, openly talks about her taking pills and all this sort of thing. He's breaking social rules left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
So why bother going in the first place?
Stand on occasion.
Exactly.
Just, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Does it fit with the character that we know from the movie? Probably not. But at any point in the film, if you said, "Is this someone who would like confront his emotions?"
Yeah,
You'd
but
say
he's not.
no.
But that would be him not confronting his emotions. Surely that would be him running away from them.
Yeah.
He's not dealing with it by not going, is he? But he clearly doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
So just if you stuck to your principles, and if one of your principles is do things that make you happy,
Yeah.
then and don't do things that make you unhappy.
I can take this a step further, Chris,
Yeah.
and put some science to it.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Chervill's index?
Chervill's index.
Yeah.
I remember Chervill's index that we created in a pub once playing Snakes and Ladders.
Which one was that?
What was it the time that we played a game of Snakes and Ladders where if you landed on any part of a snake or a ladder at any point, then you had to go up just to try and make the game a bit more interesting. And people got caught in like loops, of, like inescapable loops.
You couldn't win, were you?
Had you forgotten about that?
Yeah, I had.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, if anyone's looking to liven up their games of Snakes and Ladders.
We were adult men. It's like a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah. We were, mid-20s, yeah. Sorry, so yeah, what was the other Chervill's index?
That's Chervill's first index.
Right. It's the other Chervill's index that I think I've realised you might be talking about is if it makes a good story, do it.
No, you're thinking of it's only funny if you do it.
Oh, right, I see.
Right.
Like, how many indices
Well,
do you have?
that's not really an indices. That's not really an index. That's more of a mantra.
Right, okay.
Chervill's second index.
Yeah.
Which you may remember our friend of the show was injured in a car accident.
Yes.
And I was on the way to visit him in hospital, and he was in a hospital in South East London. I'm sure he's listening.
Mm-hmm.
So hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
And I got like caught in train delays, and it must have taken me 4 hours to get there. And then I live in the furthest part of West London,
Yeah.
so it took me about 4 hours to get home as well.
Yeah.
And visiting hours at hospital are such that I could only be there for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Now on the train there, I worked out the perfect calculation for whether or not my journey was justified.
Right.
And that is Chervill's index.
Okay.
Now what you do, you take time spent at your destination, divide it by time spent travelling,
Right.
multiply it by the enjoyment you will get from the trip out of 10,
Okay.
and multiply it again by how much it will mean to the person you're visiting out of
Right.
10.
Okay.
Right? You divide that all by 10,
Right.
and you will have a number, and that's out of 100.
Right.
Now, if the final number you have is lower than 10, it's not worth even
Lower than
thinking
10 out of 100.
about. Yeah.
Right.
And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
What's something you've done recently, Chris? A little trip you had to meet to visit a friend.
My dad's 60th birthday
Okay.
recently.
Now, how long did you take to travel there?
It takes about 2 hours door to door.
Okay. 2. And how long were you there?
About 36 hours.
36.
Well, yeah. Let's say 30.
30 hours. 30 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, 30 over 2 is 15.
Okay.
Okay. How much did it mean to you? Did you enjoy it out of 10?
Yeah, like 8.
8 out of 10. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 15 times 8 is 120.
Okay.
Yeah. How much did it mean to your dad to have you there?
I'd like to think, 8 at least, 9.
8. Okay. So that's 120 times 8.
Yeah.
960.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll divide that by 10,
Mm-hmm.
which is 96.
Okay.
Now that, Chris,
Yeah.
is good, isn't it?
That's a high score, isn't it?
That is, you should definitely not even doubt about that.
Yeah.
That's 100%.
Yeah.
Get on it. Well, it's 96%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there should be no doubt.
No.
Yeah. Compare that perhaps with a journey that you didn't want to take lately. Let's look at my journey here tonight, shall we?
Okay.
I travelled an hour to get here.
Okay.
And now I've got about an hour and a half home, probably.
Right.
It's 2.5 hours travelling.
Okay.
How long have I been here?
Well, you will have been here about 3 hours.
Okay.
3.5.
3 over 2.5 is 1.2.
Okay.
Now, out of 10, I'm having a great time. That's a 10.
Okay.
So that's 12.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying having me here?
Yeah. 6.
6. Okay, 12 times 6 is 72.
Right. I thought this was a trip that you didn't want to.
I'm just giving you
Okay,
another example.
All right, and then divide that by 10.
It's 7.2. That's
Yeah.
under 10. So I shouldn't have come.
You
here.
shouldn't have come.
However, what we haven't factored in is the enjoyment the listeners get,
Yeah.
which obviously counts for 10. So I'm going to go back in there and add 17.
Yeah.
So 12 times 17 is 204.
Mm-hmm.
Divided by 10, that's 20.
Yeah.
Now that's a dead cert.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, now you're in a comfortable ballpark.
Yeah.
Now, so we're confident that Sherwood's index works.
Yeah.
Those are two things that were worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's look at...
Let's look at Will.
Yeah. Will, he had to drive a long way down a country road, didn't
Yes.
he? Because he had to run over that coyote.
Run over coyote, yeah, which he then murdered with a tyre iron.
Exactly. How long would you say he was travelling?
I don't know. It looks like from central Los Angeles to the Hollywood Hills. So what's that? I don't know. Let's say an hour.
An hour?
We don't know.
That's an hour each way.
Yeah.
That's 2 hours.
Okay.
How long can you reasonably expect to spend at a dinner party?
Probably 6-7 hours, maybe, depending on. Well, I suppose they get there.
They get about 7.
Oh yeah, it is 7 o'clock, isn't it? Yeah.
Say they're going to leave at midnight.
Okay, so that's 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5 over 2 is 2.5, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now his enjoyment is low.
Yes, I would say a 3.
3. 7.5.
Maybe. Well, is it a 3 or a 4? Do you
It's a
reckon?
3. It's a 3.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you mean in the scope of the? Do you mean like? Because this is presumably an index that you employ before you make the trip.
How much do you
he's not going to rate out of 10 being shot and seeing loads of his friends.
It's anticipation.
Okay. So he doesn't really want to go.
No, but he does want to go because I think he does want some level of closure.
Okay.
So it's 3. So it's a 7.5 at this point.
Okay.
The enjoyment
2.5 plus 3.
times 3.
Oh, times 3. Yeah. Okay.
Now we have to multiply that by the enjoyment that the people who are there will get.
Which seems to be quite high.
Yeah, I would say 10.
Yeah.
Collectively. Okay. There's no one there who doesn't want to see him.
Yeah.
And the people who do want to see him really badly, it's because it's like their plans coming together.
Yes.
So I'd say 10, which is 75.
Yeah. But then divide that by 10, Joe.
Oh dear. And it's 7.5.
Therefore, he shouldn't have gone.
No, he shouldn't.
No.
And if he'd employed Sherwood's index before he left the house, he'd still be alive.
Yes. Well, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
I think I can't think of a better note on which to end the podcast, to be honest. And of course, if your enjoyment has been out of 10, and if of course your enjoyment of this podcast has been 10, then make sure you leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and you can also get in touch with us. Let us know your thoughts. Recommend any films. Tell us how you'd survive the invitation. Maybe tell us some of your nightmare dinner party stories, and. We'll read them out on air or something. I don't know. But the email address is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. The Twitter handle is @howtosurvivepod. What have we got next week, Joe? It's Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
That's right.
Who are you going to call?
I'm going to call you and then I'm going to go, when do you want to do the podcast? And you're going to go, oh, fucking hell. Yeah, I forgot. And then we're going to have to reschedule it 3 times.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to apply Sherwood's index to decide on the best day.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking forward to it already.
Yes.
The week after that, 13 ghosts.
Yeah. 2 very similar ghost stories.
Yeah.
One after the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look forward to them.
See you then.
See you then. And once again, Joe.
Cheers.
Cheers.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
So, you know when you came up with your index?
For visiting Ben, yeah.
Visiting our friend who'd broken his leg.
Yeah.
So, what did you decide?
Well, I was already on the train, so it's a moot point. But I can take you through the calculation now if you'd like.
Yeah, okay.
So, I think it was probably about 2.5 hours to get there.
Right.
And then 2.5 to get home, which is 5.
Mm.
I was only there an hour. One divided by 5 is 0.2.
Right, I see.
0.2. It was good to see him actually. Probably, but it was not good to see him in that state.
Yeah, so
He was unwell.
He was probably a 5 for you, or so, was it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, yeah, I'd say a 5. 0.2 times 5 is, which is of course 1.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think it meant something to him.
3.
3, yeah. Inconvenient.
Yeah.
Which is a 3 divided by 10.
Yeah.
Is a 0.3.
Yeah.
So that is probably close to the lowest score.
Yeah.
Like that's you visiting your dad for his 60th birthday.
Yeah.
Is the polar opposite.
Yeah.
Of me visiting my friend who was in the hospital.
Well, our friend, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was my friend because I was. That's what I calculated.
Yeah. Well, I didn't go to visit him because I did the calculation at home before I left.
Right. You did Morris's index, which takes into account financial compensation you'll get for it. Yeah. I mean, there is some level to it because I thought like it doesn't really apply to like going to work because if you're going to work, you're earning money.
Yeah.
So that as much as you like, maybe you get like a 1 for like I hate my job.
Yeah.
But you might get really well paid for it. So it's like okay, there's
you have to factor that in.
Yeah, you do. So that it doesn't really work for work. Also, I think if you're away for more than 10 hours, it's more of a holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
And you've got to factor in what the in this case the clients are going to think if you don't show up
For work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to wank themselves off, Joe, are they?
Sick burn.